Hello, Sukanya. Oh, you're not there now. Good morning, Kuzovi. This is
Ah,
Banu.
good morning all.
Idam and
And oi, iba tiam ve
mm,
oi ha. You are
mm,
from
uh, Nagaland from Dimapur.
oh Dimapur.
Yes, Pula
Bano.
Lundanga Dammo. Okay, now, yes, Kapi Mizo Anya.
Oh
Oh,
tunge
uh,
ipi.
German Tangi.
Oh German tangi is
Oh,
ipi
uh,
if ma father's mother.
my mother's mother.
Zouram tangi.
Zoram Tangi is my mother.
Oh Zouram tangi is from where?
Zoram Tangi is from her mother is from Mizoram and her father is from Konoma village,
Okay.
Kevichusa.
Oh I see. And then what about, do you know Alu? Dr. Alu.
No.
He was a medical officer there, been posted in Dimapur hospital, one of the Dimapur civil hospital, maybe, I don't know exactly. So I met him, and then his father also belongs to Mizo. Yeah, but he didn't
Oh,
want to
okay.
disclose. His name is Dr. Alu. Yeah,
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
great. And
No,
then
no.
yeah,
My
Sujain, you may
yeah.
know Sujain, Dr. Sujain. She is also from one of the college. She joined last year this one of the orientation course conducted by Mizoram University.
Yeah,
Uh,
I am not in the academic circle. I'm
oh,
not,
I see. That's
so
the
that
reason.
is why I'm not, I won't be very
Yeah,
familiar with it.
Bona Horalu.
Bano, yes.
Yeah, because she came last time in our meeting.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I'm really interested with the documentary that you have made.
Okay, thank
oh,
you
So
so
I've
much.
been
I'm
using that documentary
oh,
while I'm
lovely.
presenting different kinds of these kind of refresher courses and orientation course
Oh,
because that was really
yeah.
very good. And so
very
I,
good.
yeah, it's
I
a good
wish, I wish, I wish we had time to hear you speak about the role of women in conservation, but unfortunately, this platform is not going to give us that
yeah,
opportunity.
may not be. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but still, we would look forward to
yeah, yeah.
your your inputs. Puzovi, are you? Shall we just do a rundown? Or if we are on the same page with the rundown? Because
Mhm.
I understand that you will be introducing us all, right? You
Mhm,
will.
yeah. So
Um,
I will only start and welcoming you all on behalf
right.
of Mizoram University as a
Sure.
hosting university.
Yes.
Then I will hand it over to
To me.
the coordinator of this session.
To
Then
me.
the coordinator may take,
Okay.
I mean 2 3 minutes. Then they will hand over this platform to you. That is how I think it is decided. So
Okay.
yeah,
So I want to clear that because I thought that you are supposed to hand it over to the coordinator, which will be me, which will then welcome everybody, and then I will also introduce our guest of honor,
uh-huh.
and then the guest of honor will have some time to speak on the sub theme,
Yes.
and then I will continue introducing the chair and co-chair, both Professor Manoranjan Sharma and co-chair, and then the session will be taken over by the chair, and the papers will be announced by the
Yes.
coordinator, Sukmaya Lama. So I think that's
Yes.
how we'll go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope everything goes well. Yeah.
I'm forwarding YouTube live streaming link. Yeah.
Mm.
You Dr. Lama, you can also share in other groups. Okay.
Yes, sure, sure. I'm doing that.
And I have just posted in the organizing committee group, and then you can also share.
Right.
All have joined. All have joined now, no? Dr. Lama, all have joined. The panelists have joined.
Waiting for Anjulika, ma'am.
You just, tell me when to start. Now it is 1 minute left by our watch.
Yes. Kindly just give us 2 minutes. We are waiting for.
We wait for another 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Yeah, and what about, Professor Ishita, Madam? Is she joining? And what about, our IAWs, OB and then leaders and all, who all are going to join. I hope, our system analysts can admit them and put up in the panelist list.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have our chair and co-chair.
Hi.
Guest of honor. I guess we could give a start. Right now. And since everybody is here. All our paper presenters are also here. Okay. Start. Ma'am, you could.
Can we start now?
Yes.
Okay. So a very warm good morning to everyone. With due permission of our guest of honor, Professor Lal Nundanga, who is a registrar of Mizoram University, so who has a very, what we call it, rich, biodata or experience as a teacher in Mizoram. So he is from the science stream, of course, and then he has actually agreed to be a guest of honor in spite of a very busy schedule. This day, conduct of the examination is going on for the master degree, and then for the undergraduate, and things are moving in that way because of this COVID-19 problem. So they have to attend meeting here and there. Then yesterday also, there was an inauguration of True Hostel, actually through online, conducted by the Mizoram University. The Union Minister, Education Minister could actually inaugurate it. So in spite of his busy schedule, he has actually joined us, and going to give a speech also. So I welcome on behalf of organizer of this very platform, this e-conference on COVID-19 perspective of the Northeast India. So I also welcome on behalf of the organizing team, chairpersons, Professor Manorama Sharma, a retired professor, Department of History, Nehu. So, Madam, actually, you are not new to us, and we are not new to you also, because Mizoram University was born from Northeastern Hill University. I also started my teaching way back in 1989, and then we used to come down to Shillong. So when Mizoram University was created in 2001, then only we become Mizoram University, and some few teachers are remaining, and many have already got their superannuation and left our university also. So nice to meet you, Madam, and we are so grateful to you and to join us and do a great service once again for us. Then equally, I also welcome to extend my warm welcome to Miss Tingmam Anjulika Samum. Yeah, great to have you. Yesterday or before yesterday, we could have, Patricia Mukim also. So Patricia Mukim, we were together in the Northeastern Hill, Northeastern Region Vision 2020 under Sanjoy Hazarika chairpersonship and under the Ministry of Donor. So I think we have been meeting somewhere, I don't know, here and there. Alana, we met him many times, and then Linda also. So why I have mentioned all these things is that we have a great, journalist, and those who are actually having a good, contributions to the society in many ways. So I, on behalf of the organizing team, welcome you to this very platform, and your presence will really make a great difference also, and we are going to learn many things even from you also. So this is the beginning of our joint venture with the Women's Study Center of the Northeast and across the nation also. So we would like to hear more how, I mean, many problems you have faced being a female ladies or journalist also. That would be very informative for all of us also while conducting this session. And then you can also share, I think, some few important things since this session is women and media. It's very, very important. So I welcome on behalf of the organizing team once again to you all. So as I said today, there is election going on, general election for the local council and then for the village council. Village council is meant for the administering of the people living in the rural areas, and the local council is to administer the people living in the urban areas. But again, here this local council is only found in the city of Aizawl. We have 11 district. In those, I mean, 11 district headquarters, even local council is also not yet introduced, and they are governed by the village councils. This is also a very strange thing in the post 21st century. So today, I mean, general election is going on, and I actually went to the polling booth and casted my votes already. Our register might not be having a time to cast his vote. So being a responsible citizen, we all have to cast our vote under this difficult period. But 20 local councils and altogether village council cannot cast their vote, cannot actually conduct the election for local council or village council due to this pandemic problem. So this is how government is making an arrangement under this difficult situation. We all have to perform our duty as a citizen. So that is what I want to say from my end. And if anything is left out, and then they will be taking care of this. So may I invite our, on behalf of the organizing team once again, and as a hosting university, I also welcome our coordinator, Dr. Sukmaya Lama and Bano Haralu. They are too good, and then we have been contacting to each other, especially Dr. Lama. So I welcome on behalf of this, I mean, Mizoram University, and I also extend my heartiest welcome and then to all the panelists and all the participants who have joined this session, and they keep on joining to the live streaming, YouTube live streaming also. This is how we have been doing. So now the platform is given to our coordinator, session coordinators. Please, Dr. Lama and Madam Bano, please carry on.
Good
Thank you.
morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction, Kuzovi. And we take inspiration from you. We know you are a member of the State Women's Commission. And for all your leadership, thank you. And for enabling us all to be gathered on this platform, co-hosted by the Mizoram University. You have been the main staying force there of all the technical sessions. And we look forward to this morning's discussion. So I would like to bring us all and remind us all that this is the last day of the three-day e-regional conference on gender during COVID-19, Perspective from Northeast India, which has been organized by the Indian Association for Women's Studies, Northeast Region, in collaboration with several leading universities of the Northeast and civil society groups and NGOs. Over the last couple of days, the subjects or the sub-themes that have been explored and discussed have ranged from subjects such as women's protection and safety, women's works and livelihood, women and health, concerns of marginalized groups, gender and education, citizenship and migration. This morning, all of the above, including another session which will be on, is the climate change and development. All of these subjects converge under this morning's sub-theme, which is women and media. The importance of media cannot be stressed enough, as we all know. And the concept note of the sub-theme today also has tried to bring in papers, presenters who will explore the voices of this majority of the voices of women, really, whose experiences have been on the periphery of this pandemic, especially during this pandemic. We know that the media, in many ways, creates stereotypes in the society. But during the pandemic, have we given enough voice for women to share their experience? The concept note also states that the COVID pandemic has expanded the inherent prejudice that runs through the society, manifested in the recent surge of news coming from different corners of the country, um, from Northeast, and mostly of women who have been targets of racial slurs like Corona, Chinese, and so on, and have faced discrimination. But in all of this, the news media, the social media, however, has proved to be a site of resilience during the period of crisis, wherein women have used this digital space to help other women overcome the effects of the pandemic. The sub-theme aims to explore the media narrative during the pandemic and examine the silent voices coming from marginalized section with a cultural and critical approach. More on the presentation and more on the sub-themes will be presented by the co-coordinator, Dr. Sukmaya Lama, but only after this brief introduction. I would perhaps now at this moment like to introduce our guest of honor, none other than the Registrar of Mizoram University. Of course, Puzovi has already told us a bit of his very, very hectic schedule. So we are deeply grateful to you, Kapoor, for being present here this morning. And I've had the honor of meeting you personally in the past. And this morning, virtually, I am indeed grateful for this privilege provided to me by the IAWS Northeast to welcome you formally into the sub-theme Women and Media. I know your background is largely to do with science, and in fact, you hold a master's degree in botany and a PhD in forestry from the Northeastern Hill University. Your fields of interest are ethnobotany, biodiversity, and bioengineering, to name a few. And you have a rich experience of both field and teaching experiences. You have publicized over 30 research papers, beginning with ethnobotanical flora in the humid subtropical semi-evergreen forest of Mizoram in 1997, to your most recent paper in 2020, which is the determination of phytochemical contents and antioxidant activities of ethanol extract of the leaves of Scurula parasitica. Now, for many of us, this is going to go above our heads, but what we can understand is that you're deeply rooted in the environment. And I wish we had the opportunity to really have you share with us your experiences of working in Mizoram and across the Northeast on the environmental issues. But at the same time, we hope at some point we will be able to hear from you the role of women in our environment and conservation. But right now, I heartily welcome you and also Professor Manorama Sharma as chair and co-chair Ms. Angelika Tamom during this session. I would now request uh, Pu Lalundanga to kindly present us or talk to us about this sub-theme, women and media, and your thoughts on this morning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Guna Haralu. And I thank the organizers for inviting me to be one of the witness in this very conference. And at the same time, I congratulate the organizers for being organizing this kind of session in the midst of this COVID pandemic. That this very session itself speaks about the women and media, how we are very much concerned about this media in spite of this pandemic situation. Anyway, so I may not go through very deep detail about the technical system, the theme, women and media. First of all, I would like to highlight a little bit about the functioning of these women studies, different centers, especially in the academic, like the universities, maybe of a central universities or maybe of there's a state university anyway. So I've been working and familiar with the functioning with the cell. It's a kind of I've been involved since 2009, since the inception of this Human Resource UGC Human Resource Development Center here in our university. The same mode has been implemented for this Women's Study Center also. But the functioning is from the administration side. So first of all, what I would like to mention about how IAWS can go about ahead with, more improvement in the functioning of different women centers, study centers. Because, for example, like it's a kind of a project mode, but the flow of fund, the irregularity flow of fund is a very big problem. So, as an organizer of this very conference, IAWS, so if you can tie up together and pursue for the smooth functioning of these women's study centers in different universities and different institutes, I think that would help a lot to each and every, the locality or even the society as well. So that is the first point which I would like to highlight. Because when I go through the Women's Study Center, these guidelines, though the draft has been published already, but not yet approved and not yet implemented. And at the same time, so you have to go with the existing guidelines, but which is quite different from the new draft guidelines. So the new draft guidelines is very good. That so in case that if we can implement with the new guidelines, I think that will be a great help in empowering or upliftment of the woman in different societies. That is the first point which I would like to mention, taking the advantage of this platform. So the IAWS may take up this matter to the the higher authority in the ministry or UGC or even in the this Ministry of Education. So that is one thing. And then another thing is like in the very theme like women and media. Since I'm from this science background and botany, especially my department is forestry. So when we talk about forestry, we have a gender issue also in forestry. So you all know about the Chipko movement. This is started with the women only. So in the safeguarding of the environment is also women are taking a very say that the remarkable job and then so because of that the I think you any problem? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, there was an overlapping of some audio, but that's gone now.
Okay, okay, fine. So I heard some voices, so that's
Yes.
why. Anyway, yeah. Regarding media, in context to Mizoram, I think we all know about the situation of Mizoram, especially in the Northeast. I think we do have a kind of agenda issue in compared to other places. So within India or especially in region, here in our society, the women participation is really what to say that it is recognized. For example, like so to election day, as Professor Nezo has mentioned, so we have what to say like follow the 33% even in the candidature. So even in my locality, out of 7, 2 must be from women. Okay, something like that. So we have followed the 33% reservation for the women. So what happened is that so they have to have a kind of voice at the level of making decision. So here, I think in Mizoram, so we do not have that much of issue about this gender. But especially the very topic of this session, women and media. I think here in Mizoram, in terms of the media-related involvement of a woman, I think we need to encourage a little bit more here, especially in connection with this Mizoram. It is a Mizoram, because I do not know much about the other, I mean, that area. For example, like there is a Miss Bonaharalu. So as I mentioned earlier, that so her documentary has been publicized all through the world. It has been, I mean, that very much appreciated by so throughout the world. So such kind of, I mean, like these are, I mean, that involvement and taking steps through the media that is very much needed here in Northeast as a whole, especially in context to Mizoram. Though many of the young women are coming up so in media, and then when these days is I mean like so through different kinds of social media. So if we could take this advantage so that we can do many things, we can do many things because it does not need much about any higher qualification also. If someone is having this kind of determination, that is very important. So this is my request at this very point of time, is that I think I hope to hear some more from the presenter, the panelists, so encouraging and the prospects of there's a woman in the media circle, how we can raise different kinds of issues. So that would be a great help. And with that, I wish all the participants, the panelists, that this conference, this very session would be a very, very helpful, and I wish all the participants a very good success of this very session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Langdanga, for those very precious insights. You know, the rest of the Northeast, we always look towards Mizoram for leadership in so many fields. Mizoram has done so many, has got so many breakthroughs. And now today you're telling us about 33% reservation for women in local elections, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And that will be the way for to get women to participate in political decision making. Not only that, I know that Mizoram has already drafted a law for inheritance of property on Marriage and Divorce Act. That is also in place, which I feel really this should really come and be shared with the rest of the Northeast. Not forgetting the Liquor Prohibition Act and how it was lifted. I know there were some problems with that, but I think the people will find a way to circumvent that as well. But thank you for your insight, and I do agree with you. I support you in your call for women in Mizoram to get involved in media, and which I hope will happen with the Women's Study Center now that has been initiated in your university. And I'm very sure the IWCS will, Indian Women Association for Women's Studies will work on your suggested proposal. Thank you for your words.
Thank
At
you.
this stage, we now come to, for me to have the privilege of introducing our co-chair, Professor Manoranjan Sharma, ma'am, and also co-chair, the chair, Professor Manoranjan Sharma, sorry, and co-chair Tingam Anjulika Sharma. Anju, I'm so used to calling you Anju, so please forgive me if I've made that mistake in your name. But Professor Sharma is not new to many of people in the Northeast, especially those in the academic circles. So I welcome you heartily, Professor Sharma. I know your background is steeped in teaching and steeped in history, in modern Indian history. You have been a former head of department of the Northeast Hill University in Shillong, and you have published a number of articles in various research and journals and in the issues of historical interest. And in recent years on gender, history. You're also an active member of various reputed academic bodies and associations, organizations, and also administrative bodies which have also headed the Department of History in Nehru for a term. Currently, Professor Sharma is associated with the Assam School of Journalism and an academic advisor. She is active on social media, that's lovely, and has been vocal about the emergent socio-political issues of the region. We are deeply honored to have you chair this session, ma'am. Thank you for your time. On Anjulika Samom, she is a journalist for over 20 years. I have known her for perhaps that or more number of years. And she is unique in the sense that she straddles both the vernacular and English for journalistic purposes. Anjulika has crafted or has brought out a memoir of books of interviews based on women in Manipur and their experiences of World War II. And this has been a collection, has come out in a Zuban publication called Crafting the Word. Currently, Anjulika is also involved with documentation of the voices of women from across Manipur. She is a great advocacy of rights for women's rights in Manipur. And today, we are very glad to have her here and for her insight on the papers that will be presented. And I would like to tell you that in this short span of time, we are so glad that the presenters, 8 of them, have been able to submit their papers, of which my co-coordinator, Ms. Dr. Lama, will share more about in the coming session. So right now, I would like to hand over the chair and the session to the chair, Professor Manoranjan Sharma. Ma'am Sharma, can you?
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much, Manu, for the very lavish introduction, actually. Pretty embarrassing.
Not at all.
I'm so happy to come back to be in Mizoram University, although virtually. I'd have loved to be there physically because I've been to
It's
Mizoram.
a beautiful campus.
I know. I've been there so often, and I'm very close to their history department. My students are there. We're working. Robin, who is the head now, I think, he has been a very close student of mine. So, I mean, going to Mizoram University is always something very pleasant. So, even though virtually, I'm very happy to be associated with this panel of the IAWS, and which I think is an extremely important panel in the context that, in a way, which I think Banu said, that it in a way sums up or brings together many of the issues which are being discussed. Because after all, in today's world, a lot depends on how the media actually images women. And when we talk about the media imaging women, I just just at the beginning, before we come to the papers, and then maybe I'll just give 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then Anjulika and I can take it up at the end, in summing it up, and how we look at the papers. But whenever we talk about media creating images of women, I am always reminded of Betty Friedan's work, 1963. I think that is the work which actually got feminist critics to talk about it. That how does the media actually image the woman? Is she imaging the woman as a very good housewife and a suppressed being? Or how is it being done? And even say, writers like Lucy Bates, in her Everyday Sexism, she talks about it, that the woman doesn't really see herself. She has never saw herself being heard. And so I think this is a very important issue. And your registrar actually talked about the importance of the social media. And I think in times of this COVID-19, the social media is becoming extremely important in the sense that it is in some ways, maybe, you know, women are getting the space to come out and, you know, show their talents. But at the same time, because the social media doesn't really need any kind of training, any kind of, you know, structure, there are all the trolls that come out and which actually, you know, harm the cause of women a lot. You know, the trolling that goes on and the attempts to try and present the very, very patriarchal perceptions and attitudes. So I think in this context, it is very, very important that we have a session like this where we can, you know, bring in the issues of how the media is handling this very, you know, the situation of the pandemic, and particularly how women are facing it, because in some ways, you know, in generally women don't form a part of the news. And if you look at globally, I think it's not more than 46%, you know, is covers women. Most of the news is about men, and women become news only when, you know, they create some kind of a social furor of some kind, then they become news, but not otherwise. So it's very important because, and the pandemic, it has been a situation where women have suffered in a different way. They have, you know, their experiences have been very different. And so how has the media been holding it up? And I think the papers which are here in this panel, which are trying to look at it, you know, from the perspective of the Northeast, I think these papers are, papers like these are very, very important to project and to make the society think that, you know, there are different ways and different ways of looking at it. So I think we should, what do you say, Anjulika? We go on to the papers first, or maybe Anjulika could say a few words first.
I think we can go on to the papers first. That would be a good idea.
Yeah. And then we can come in at the end to, you know, sum up.
Yeah.
And Anjulika, you and I,
Yeah.
Maya has given us the job of also trying to figure out which is the best paper, which is a very
Yes.
difficult job actually.
It would be difficult.
Yeah, so let's see how we handle it. So
Yeah.
let us then go ahead with the papers. All the paper presenters here, Banu?
Yes, all the 7 of the 8 are present.
Seven of the 8 have joined. Huh?
Yes, yes.
So shall we then you know, begin with the first one that I have from the abstracts is that of Aratrika Kashyap.
Right, sure.
I think Anjulika, what do you say? We give them about 10 minutes for presenting. Banu, till 2
Yeah,
o'clock.
10 minutes would be fine. I think.
Banu, what is the time? Till
Yes,
2?
I think, yes, we have till, no, we don't have that much time. We have till
What is our time?
We have 1.5 hours.
1.5 hours.
1:30 till 1:30.
1:30.
1:30. Then maximum time will be around 8 minutes, I think. For otherwise, there'll be no time for any kind
Discussion.
of discussions. No?
Yes.
There should be some time for questions, and you know, that might come in on the chat.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, if the organizers, if you all could just inform everyone that a question should come in on the chat, so that you know, you all can take it up.
I just want to inform everyone present here, please put your questions in the Q&A section only, not in the chat. There is a one Q&A section. This should be visible to all the attendees.
Q&A.
That will be better for everyone.
Can I just interrupt once? I'm sorry, can I just interrupt once? Because some of us may leave earlier. So our registrar had said that seat reservation at the rate of 33 is also actually available in Mizoram, but that is not exactly correct. And then it is, I mean, as of now, we have for the local village council 25.6%. for women's seat reservation.
Okay.
Then for local council, it is 27.15 for this time, I mean, election. So that is the only thing that I would like to, the rest, I mean, is okay. And then thank you. Because Panchayati Raj is not yet introduced. That is the main thing. For the Aizawl Municipal Corporation, there is 32 point, I mean, 75 is available for women's seat. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks for that correction. Yes, please
Yeah.
go ahead, Professor Sharma. Yes.
So I think we have Aratrika Kashyap, the first paper presenter. Will you join in?
Yes, right. Am I audible? Is this fine?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Right. Hi. I'm going to
Hello.
share my screen and for the presentation.
I think the audio is a little low. I think. Yeah, very low.
Wait. Is this any better? Am I
Yeah,
more
better.
audible?
That's
Right.
better. That's better,
Right.
Aratrika. Please go ahead.
Okay. Right.
You have 8 minutes. 8, maximum 9 minutes. Huh? Yeah.
All right. Okay. Right. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. As you can see, my paper is titled Fluidity and the Tribal Body, a Gendered Perspective on Identity Formation in Tribal Societies through the Lens of Bollywood. One of the many fault lines of COVID-19 has been the display of fear and narratives around minority communities, wherein stereotypes and prejudices around the South Asian Chinese-looking body has received much flack for being corona spreaders. While the Tablighi Jamaat gathering and gatherers were accused of spreading COVID-19, the Chinese-looking Indians were accused of carrying it. Understanding the contextual history of this pandemic originating in Wuhan, China, the wrath of the people was to be expounded on the northeastern population living in the urban spaces of Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, and Kolkata, to name a few, with the visual media refusing to acknowledge these events, often as racism, albeit though shared in social media. These incidents were further aggravated when BJP MLA in Telangana, Raja Singh, shouted slogans of Chinese virus go back, which of course can be corroborated to the American President Donald J. Trump's own version of calling this virus Chinese by giving it a racial character and adding further stigma. These instances of racism, followed by brutal sexual gestures such as spitting, throwing of water, etc., aren't a new phenomenon but have intensified and brought to fore the historical othering, lack of knowledge, and limited interactions between what has come to be known as mainland India and the Northeast. The question of caste, Hindu racism, and racist notions isn't new, but found much expression sans consequences given the political scenario and a lack of legal confrontation. The idea of choosing a documentary or a narrative film that fits in real time, as well as a fictitious representation of real time events in constructed settings and frames, is to explore the impact it has on people, as well as a reflection on the intent of the same. As you can see, the paper has been divided into 3 parts. The first part deals with the historical definitions and systemic othering. The second part deals with the favorable ideal heroes of Northeast India. Part 3 deals with the... Yeah?
I think, are you presenting on the screen? Because we are watching your blank screen.
Yeah, my screen has been shared. Is it not?
Oh, no, it's not visible.
Because here it's written that it's being shared. So even on the screen. Okay, wait.
Yes, you have to open your slide in the full mode. You are putting your screen in the now it's coming fine.
Is it now?
Now
okay. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead, Arjun. Now we can see your slides.
Okay, thank you so much. Part 3 deals with the representation from within the community and its engagement with the dual tonalities of racism and sexism. Historical othering and a nationalistic Bollywood. It takes a lot to get over the picturesque cinematography of Rock On 2 as Purab Kohli's character KD goes on a road trip across Meghalaya, jumping into the natural lake, searching for his soul, the music within, among other things. Given Meghalaya's reputation as the rock capital of India, it is only apt that Bollywood's only movie franchisee to focus on rock music walked down the lanes of the capital. While the beauty of Meghalaya encapsulates you, one cannot but resist asking, where are the people and why this convoluted representation? Do the locals really need Farhan Akhtar's Aditya Shroff to be their savior against the cooperative houses or middlemen that are trying to intimidate the local farmers and cultivators? Anyone who is sufficiently informed of the three dominant tribes of Meghalaya would know just how self-reliant they are and have been in the language of resistance. A movie that takes advantage of the geopolitics of Meghalaya without giving its dues to the people. This isn't the movie's fault alone, rather the culture of representation or lack of it that Bollywood has come to present, recognize and depict. The history of Northeast India is deep-seated in movements, rebellion and revolution, derived and based on identity politics and autonomy. Each of the 8 northeastern states have witnessed some sort of secessionist, separatist, or indigenous movement seeking control over their land, culture, and language. This tussle between Northeast and New Delhi has resulted in a vehement othering of the people, the tribes of Northeast, characterizing them as those seeking to break away from India, as traitors of the land and the state, being labeled as anti-national elements. However, the Indian cultural nationalism has changed the course of politics as well as movement. India as a country possesses two varying ideas of tribe and tribal identity, one that is found in the heartlands, stereotyped in their own ways, the second, the northeastern tribes. There are at least a few hundred, each with distinct dialect, language, culture, set of traditions, etc. Tracing back the discourse of racism and representation to Chak de India, as mentioned in the abstract, the discrimination meted out to the former is different as opposed to the one meted out to the latter, which is further known and realized when Balbir Kaur, a Punjabi hockey player, bullies Rani Despota and Soimoy Karkata, who are from the remote villages in Jharkhand, for their lack of knowledge and fluency in Hindi, assumes that they live and come from jungles, which is an accurate reflection of Kaur's ignorance of tradition and cultures beyond Hindi and Hindu. The second part, understanding heroism in the Northeastern identity, Bollywood in the NRI Indian subtext becomes the hub of accepted form of entertainment and also construction of knowledge. The appeal of movies or visual media, films, has a wide audience and a far-reaching impact wherein beliefs, ideas, notions, as well as stereotypes are confirmed and conformed to. This isn't to figuratively associate that there aren't other mediums of knowledge, but the consumption of knowledge through films has a history that isn't primarily associated with literacy. Films have often been a medium to construct notions of good, bad, nationalism, patriotism, beauty, representation, etc. Mary Kom was the biopic movie based on amateur boxing champion Mang Tae Kom, or Mary Kom as she's popularly known, has been a true feminist tale of tackling poverty, patriarchy, and a patronizing state. Com's story was every bit worth the wait in terms of acting. The problem, however, lay in the dual aspects of the storytelling and representation. The idea that was hard to chew on was the production team's decision to shoot Com with the face of Priyanka Chopra and locate it in Manali and Dharamshala instead of Manipur, citing safety concerns. The aspirational desire to represent Maricom outside of the state of politics and insurgency of Manipur to ensure that it colludes with the nationalistic idea of a good tribal Indian with a preferably oriental face only furthers these stigmas. There lies a sense of heroism in both Com and Rock On too, as well as a depiction of conflict to the extent when one feeds into into what the masses desire, vis-a-vis contributes in shaping the desires of and knowledge of the people. This particular idea of heroism is either a macho, powerful one-man army that protects someone, or a woman from a conflict-ridden area whose identity and life is encapsulated in being a good patriotic Indian. The language of empowerment that Bollywood understands would be one where the resistance is against an absurd idea of patriarchy, but not patriarchal racial institutions and mechanisms of the state, which are equally responsible for the continued and institutionalized ignorance, misogyny, and ghettoization, if not more. Com fits the narrative of heroism just like that of the Gorkha regiments or the Assam regiments, which are ethnically Northeast communities-based Indian Army regiments.
Artika, you have to try and sum up, huh? You are almost finishing your time.
Okay. An interesting tale of good Northeastern Indian has been this association with the army. Strangely enough, even during the lockdown, as videos of racist incidents were going viral, the Gorkha regiment was brought to the forefront to prove the Indianness of the tribal individuals, military valor and display of masculinity is required in order to be taken seriously and garner respect and have the right to live. This appeal to the Jawan sentiment to make people listen, realize, or recognize the racist nature is a new low even for the nationalist politics that binds the country in 2020. Finally, Akhuni in COVID-19 times, the resurging conversations on racism and sexism. Akhuni we zero in on Akhuni to evaluate the idea of self-representation. A film about Northeasterners brings to further diversity of identities, mainlander versus Northeast as a fault line, the manner in which certain communities from the Northeast take pride or consider themselves to be above the rest, constructing the ideas of us versus them when it comes to the debate of migration, framing of tribal masculinity, and the nuances of patriarchy that women themselves propagate, and questioning this idea of an Indian identity. Based in the capital Delhi, the movie is set in Humayunpur and the cast is a mix of different tribes. Lin Laisham's character, Chanbi, walks a fine line of acknowledging the existence of racism and standing up against the blatant display of sexism that she is subjected to, while Saini Gupta's Upasana as a Nepali girl is time and again forced to reconcile with her identity of being Nepali and Northeastern enough. Lanao Kom Ao as Bendang is probably one of the most layered characters with viewers whose confrontation with racism has led to the questioning of the idea of masculinity by him as well as others. Masculinity in tribal areas of Northeast, according to McDo, is formed on the basis of two dominant social constructions. The first is the traditional male role of of hunting, warfare, slaving, land brokering. The second is that of men as participants in armed struggles. This idea of masculinity, when juxtaposed with the nationalist heteronormative masculinity,
sum up now.
Has led to a conversation of emasculating. The second portrayal of masculinity has been the characterization of Shiv, the non-threatening, silly North Indian character who helps them out at every step but is casually racist with his Hindi Chini bhai bhai and continues to fetishize the female tribal body with "please give me a Northeastern girlfriend," leading to one questioning if this is really the best form of ally mainland India can produce, even in the imagination of a Northeastern director or writer's mind. In concluding remarks, I would just like to say that in the advent of COVID-19, Oriental features have come to be associated with sentiments of go back to China. When this is juxtaposed to the idea of acceptability of Northeasterners as Indians, is to the point of them winning laurels of being subversive to the establishment. The policy of assimilation or integration is never based out of educating mainlanders on the history, cultures, or geography of Northeast India, but in terms of determining it with resources and minerals and trying to dig out or make money out of it. While Bollywood seeks to raise a toast to acknowledge women of ethnicities only when their success or stances resonate the given ideas of nationalism and patriotism, struggles, identity, stereotypes, prejudices, and metrics of acceptance go unchallenged and unacknowledged. Thank you.
Thank you, Artrika. I'm sorry I had to cut you short because there are 7 more papers.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So this was, I think, a very interesting presentation of how Northeast is, in a way, the image of Northeast is created for the rest of the country. So and how it is not actually the women of Northeast. It's racism. It is the various kinds of prejudices which come in, and it also shows the very little understanding, even in the media or in the films, about what is the life of the people. I think it was a very interesting presentation that was there. We now move on to the next paper, Agamani Borborwa and Madhushri Das. Who is going to present?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, very clearly. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll start.
8 to 9 minutes, not more than that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Can you see my screen, everyone?
We can see it. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, actually, everyone. I'd like to thank IWS for giving us this opportunity. My guide, Dr. Madhushri Das, in the Department of Women's Studies, preferably actually Polly ma'am for guiding me throughout this, and the selecting panel for choosing the paper. Now my paper is actually women using social media for self-representation during COVID-19 lockdown. So I'll begin with what is self-representation. Self-representation is basically the way we represent ourselves to others. Means how we speak of ourselves to others to gain social currency, or how we try to matter in these times, like in pandemic. Why self-representation as a concept came up? Because of, as John Berger says, because modern subjectivity was born. Because around Copernican revolution, Protestantism, and Counter-Reformation, man realized that he reaches where he does because of his own hard work and not because of anything else. So the importance of humankind grew around this time. With subjectivity, the understanding, compassion of humankind, and therefore therapy came into view. So Eva Illouz actually highlights the therapeutic discourse behind self-representation as a topic, supported by American state, second wave feminists, and Vietnam veterans. How American state actually brought into the understanding, or basically the concept of cooperation between workers and corporations. The second wave feminists made the slogan, personal is political. The Vietnam veterans used their war trauma to reap social benefits. So these were all political actions to have a democratic outcome of cooperation, understanding, and respect. So my objective of using self-representation here is to understand how women use social media for self-representation, one. Second, how social media usage could actually allow marginalized groups like women, and especially from the Northeast, to engage in global crisis discourses like COVID-19 via social media. The methodology I used was 300 Facebook and Instagram posts, basically descriptive data, of 10 posts out of a random sampling of 30 women from the Northeast, both on Facebook and Instagram. 16 categories of observations for Facebook and 17 for Instagram. And I made mean, median, mode for the observation of the psychological category of the whole, observation. These women that I chose were either married, unmarried, employed, unemployed, but primarily these are all caregivers. So they could have children or elderly at home, or at least a husband to take care of. They are from the Northeast and they indulge in self-representation of some kind at least once a week on social media. The theory of self-representation that I have been talking about, I tried to put it in context of women and social media here, because women come from an unequal, marginalized kind of an area, especially Northeastern women, how they use social media for political representation. That was one. Second, by engaging in socialization, how they try to give themselves a presence and an agency and a voice to matter. And how they did not need any handholding. They did not need any other media intervention. They could use social media themselves. The user could become the media creator. Now, the choice of social media for self-representation. Two reasons I found. One is self-use, because technologically, if you're using a phone, you have Facebook, Instagram, and other apps to use. Second, cultural, because you can create meanings through hashtags and other kind of devices. Technical, because you can create representations through online workshops or like webinars like these that we're doing today. And disintermediation, because you don't need mediation of any other kind. You can create your own stories, create your own mediation. And secondly, it is easy to use. First, because it is less risky. It is not directly political, more cultural. It is omnipresent because it is across technologies and platforms. You can use it anywhere. And it is affordable because most often than not, you require only an email to actually open an account on social media. Now, use of social media as therapy, as we've already talked about therapy. How hashtag feminism actually is a kind of umbrella where you have, where you can cover women's issues, whether it is abuse or other kind, and create online support across the world. COVID-19 awareness actually also fell into hashtag feminism, as well as other kinds of devices were also used to talk about COVID-19 awareness, where women have used, news, remedies, comfort, etc. on social media via Facebook and Instagram to talk about it. Culinary therapy, interestingly, actually came about because I have noticed that women have been posting a lot of food pictures these days, ever since the lockdown. Even before actually, but ever since the lockdown, the number of food posts have increased. So this was a way, I feel, to basically deal with the pandemic. This was a way to cope. Julie Johanna has already understood it as a culinary art therapist and underlined it. So women were engaging in these kind of self-representation to basically not just matter, but also to find a community for comfort. Now, there are downsides also for social media. First is information overload, because there's so much of information going around. There's a possibility that the psychological impact could create panic. Second is abuse, online abuse. UN Women Evo Briefs 2020 have actually found out that because of the over-dependence on media of women and other genders, due to lack of socialization because we're not going out, a lot of online violence can happen: stalking, bullying, sexual harassment, sex trolling, etc. And then another one is shadow banning. Shadow banning is a concept where apps like, say, Instagram or Facebook would actually delete your posts without your knowledge. Okay, so if they think that if it is a post which would create a ruckus or create a political trouble, they'll delete the post. That has been apparently happening with a lot of LGBTQ members, but it can happen with anyone because we are marginalized kind of groups, women. So it could quiet down marginalized discourses. But my observations, as far as I've seen, is that women have still continued to do that, still continue to post. So the observations I have taken, I've meaningfully analyzed, trying to understand the user's psychological situation in this pandemic. So if you notice, this is a list of posts that have been given on Facebook and Instagram as per my categories, as I've already said. Highest on Facebook has been about issues and politics, not necessarily always about COVID, but politics in general. So 25. After that, COVID sort of falls into the third category after family and friends on Facebook. On Instagram, however, highest have been about family and friends. After that, COVID sort of falls into the 8th category. Now I'll show you how on Facebook and Instagram people have posted. These are 2 posts about COVID on Facebook. And these are the posts which are actually forwards. So somewhere someone reads a post somewhere and then shares it and then engages in the discussion, seriously taking it forward about how it actually affects us. This is a pie chart that I've already discussed. This is a post on Instagram. If you notice, there is a visual difference on Facebook and Instagram here. The food post, as I've already said, the name itself of the social handle is Lockdown Foodie. So people are actually talking about food. So, how to cook home food and, stay home and basically engage in it to comfort themselves. Then there's a post about shout out to all moms and dads, because around this time, parents are actually taking care of the children at home. So there's been a lot of mess actually going around. So people are trying to comfort each other doing that. This is like a postcard sort of debate. Then the third one is challenge accepted, which has been going around, as we all know, across Instagram and Facebook and other kind of platforms, beginning from Twitter, but it is a forward again from someone else. So in conclusion, what I have noticed is that self-representation of women on Facebook has been more political, more charged than on Instagram. There has been a lot of forwards. COVID-19 and awareness, as well as the fear of COVID-19, has been discussed about what it is, how it can be prevented, what its effects are, and COVID-19, as I've already said. On Instagram, women have been writing more personal content, however. And if they are engaging in social activism of any kind, they have been either using hashtags or postcard statements, primarily because I guess the device, the usage of the app is different than on Facebook. Maybe that's why. Another thing that I've noticed is that women on Instagram seem to be more confident than on Facebook. And as for COVID-19 discussions, it has fallen into the 8th category. But one thing that I have noticed is that on social media, no matter what the situation has been, women have engaged, and full-fledgedly. They have come out and engaged without much male, social, or cultural intervention. Because there's no hand-holding, there's nobody coming up and saying, okay, I'll choose your post or not. You can always post your content no matter what you're going through in your life. Second is, they have surpassed social abuse, racial or patriarchal hegemony. It's not completely negated. A little bit of hegemony is still there. But because I guess it is not direct and you're not dealing with somebody, face to face. So people have, I guess, more courage also. That's why they're posting. And third is, they are bracing themselves for a virtual game of self-representation. Quietly, but very strongly. They are self-representing themselves. They are telling what they think is right, what matters to them, and how it affects their families as well as themselves. And through this personal experience sharing, They're trying to take it on a social level and therefore a political level. So these are my references. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Agamoni. I think that was a very interesting representation of the positive aspects of social media vis-a-vis women, that how women have actually taken it up and using it to their best capabilities and best use. So I think we will have more to say on this at the end of it. I'm sure Anjulika will have a lot to comment on this about the use of the social media. So thank you so much. Shall we now go on to the next paper by Chabungbam Babina Devi? She's here. Has she joined, Banu?
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is visible. Please, Babina, go ahead.
Okay. My paper is titled, Is Corona Male or Female? And my paper attempts to look at some selected Manipuri memes and songs on Corona to discuss issues and representations of women in media, specifically in the context of Manipur, and how these representations are reflective of our society. So one of the memes shows that a virus is chasing a man. And this video takes a turn when, Corona is referred and called out to as a loose woman, and a term which means your mother's vagina is used. So the Manipuri version of the terms like loose woman and your mother's vagina, these are some examples of many other terms which invokes body parts of women to be used in a derogatory manner. And we also know that terming of a woman as loose has an implicit implication of her engagement with multiple male partners, which have ultimately loosened her vagina. So controlling a woman's body and their sexuality through use and misuse of parts of her body is not new, but it resurfaces time and again in different contexts. Because recently, some months back, there was an audio clip that got leaked, and the audio contained conversation between two married women discussing how their married life is very unhappy and how sexual dissatisfaction has been a primary reason. And even though the women remained anonymous, they were slut-shamed and called loose women for merely expressing their discontent and asserting their agency as an active partner in a relationship. And many have also argued that use of such words or parts of female body in a derogatory manner or swear words have served the function of policing socially undesirable behavior and are used to remind the women that they are subordinates. So if we see in this context, Corona, a virus scientifically does not have any gender or sex, is made fun of by calling a loose woman and your mother's vagina. And it points somehow to a tendency to judge and control women's body and sexuality. Another example is of a song which was meant to raise awareness. And there is nothing wrong in using songs as medium to spread awareness about a disease. But what is of concern is that in the disease, Corona is called a witch. So the imagery of witch, the imagery of Corona as a witch is juxtaposed against the imagery of a nurturer and a mother or a caregiver. Also, in the context of the practice of witch hunt, there has been many articles and literatures which have pointed out that in most of the cases, the deadly occurrences are often linked to the activities of witches. And also there have been many cases where in the name of witch hunting, many women who do not follow the societal norms and expectations have been killed, tortured, and stigmatized. There are many other memes, but one very common one is where they show women and girls with all the body hair and how they would be so undesirable to men after lockdown. But funnily, in another short animated clip, it shows Corona as a king, and the king instructs his male soldiers to go and occupy Manipur. And also on the other hand, it shows the king Corona very satisfied and happy that he could conquer the whole world. Now, the question that we can ask is, why do creator of these memes and lyricists of these songs consider Corona to be a female, whereas when they comes to depicting Corona as a, when they talk about, showing power to dominate the whole world, why do they depict Corona as a man? And if you see, the primary intention of these videos and songs and memes is to evoke laughter and entertainment. But in a participatory media culture where the relationship between the producer, the text, and the audience is the complex mixture of acceptance and resistance, it is crucial and very important to ask why this particular meme evokes laughter and not anger. Because here I would like to talk particularly about the meme which calls Corona as the loose woman in your mother's vagina. My mothers, my uncles, aunts, and grandmother, they repeatedly played, they circulated, and sometimes insist my younger cousins to enact it. I've also seen another short clip on YouTube where the elders are seen doing the same thing, that is, asking a little kid to enact the same, and they are laughing at it. Now, for them, for many people, it might arouse laughter, but to me, it sounds discriminatory, it sounds derogatory, sexist, and also homophobic. So I asked them why they find it funny. They replied that, it is funny and also cute at the same time when it comes from a kid. But the kids, when socialized in a culture where it is considered normal and totally okay to say such words, will normalize a deeply gender insensitive outlook and will also play an instrumental role in perpetuating gender discrimination, casual sexism, name callings, and naturally imbibe an attitude which would consider eve teasing or any other gender insensitive attitude as a normal and natural behavior. So the imagery of Corona as a loose woman, in which I would say that it is not a very new manifestation, but it is a reconfirmation of the patriarchal structure that binds our life as well as our experiences. And this kinds of normalizing insensitive commentaries on women and their bodies and sexuality do not end here, because in a recent incident, a trans woman who tested positive in Manipur was shamed and followed by various hate comments on social media platforms. In one of the comments, it says, we should kill this half human, half animal, and we should not give any place for them to live, and so on. So all these comments and memes generated online, I think it is very reflective of the society which shames anyone who chooses to challenge the heteronormative world that they have created and have been upholding so far. So to conclude, I would say that even though memes are used as tools of subversion, where authority is questioned and culture contested, it has also been used, consciously or unconsciously, as instruments of perpetuating gender discrimination. And the issues discussed above does not end here, does not end within the boundaries of academic engagements, but it is echoed in most of our mundane conversations of everyday life. And it is the core of daily negotiations that we women have to do. That is starting from telling that it is not funny to use parts of women's body in a derogatory fashion, to challenging expectations of a good mother or wife or sister and so on. So in today's participatory culture of new media and easy access to internet and smartphones, many of us have become not only passive recipients of multiple memes, insensitive jokes or comments, but have also become an active participant in forwarding it and passing many of this derogatory content as normal piece of entertainment. So it would be very erroneous to assume many things, especially assuming that Corona is a loose woman or a witch, and questioning to why do we assume, or why does one assume Corona to be a female, an embodiment of evil, an example of moral transgression, with points to many things which we have normalized as parts of our everyday life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Babina. I think it was a very, very sensitive paper. And these are the questions actually which may have been, troubling people a lot. And it's true what you are saying, that when Babina, when the Corona has to be shown as something destructive or something bad, it has to be a woman. But if it is to be shown as power, it has to be a man. And I think the point about, the socializing of children, the younger people into this whole approach, I think it's a very, very interesting way of putting things. And I think these are issues that we really need to discuss in great details. Thank you so much, Pavina. And I think there's a point that you made about the kind of jokes, etc., that come up. I think the next paper deals with that, because I had just gone through the abstracts. Kavita Chiring. Is Kavita Chiring here?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, absolutely. Very audible.
Okay, okay. I'll just share the screen and see if it works. Yeah. Okay. I've shared the screen. Is it visible to everybody?
Not visible. Did you send your?
Yes, yes, I have.
I think now it's coming. Yeah, now
it's coming.
visible.
It's coming. Okay. So can I start?
9 minutes. Please go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Very good afternoon to everyone. Okay, just 1 minute. I have to. Okay. The title of my paper is Incongruous Humor, a study of sexist COVID-19 memes in Assamese. Sexism is defined as a prejudice, stereotyping, or discrimination on the basis of sex, typically against women, and it continues to be a part of our lives. The fourth wave of feminism, which is an umbrella term used for the swell of feminist activity around the world in the present decade, is a response to such sexism, as well as misogyny, gender-based oppression, and violence. Some features of the fourth wave of feminism are the use of new technology, surge in online activism, an emphasis on rape culture and body image normativity, and most importantly, cultural sexism, especially media portrayals of women, with which this paper deals. Internet media, like all kinds of media, shapes the way we view and make sense of the world. And in the recent times, the internet has become a breeding ground of a new form of humor called memes. A meme is an idea, image, video, etc. that is spread quickly on the internet. And in the wake of COVID-19, there has emerged a range of sexist memes, which are widely circulated. For these papers, I have selected memes in Assamese from various web-based sources on the basis of their portrayal of gender in a pandemic-stricken world. And in analyzing these memes, I have adopted the incongruity theory of humor.
Kavita, can you please show your slide properly, like as a slideshow? Because it's not going from the first slide. Like I think you have to.
Yeah. Is it like are the slides changing now?
No, they're not changing.
Okay.
No.
No?
It's the first slide in front of us.
I'm sorry. Can you just give me a moment?
Yeah.
Okay, now the first slide, second, is it changing now?
Now it is changing. Please
Okay. So this was my first slide. And then I have talked about how media shapes the way we make sense of the world. And memes are a new form of humor, which are widely circulated on the internet. And in analyzing sexist memes in Assamese, I am using the incongruity theory of humor. Cultures are engaged in a constant process of reproducing themselves and their norms and values. And one of the channels in which cultures produce and reproduce and transmits its norms is humor, which in my opinion is a very potent channel because its lessons come wrapped in pleasure. Humor can be defined as a general name for all those objects that give rise to the mental state of comic amusement. There are various theories of humor, but the most accepted one is the incongruity theory of humor, which states that the object of comic amusement is a perceived incongruity or incompatibility caused by deviation from some presupposed norm. Some of the prototypical incongruities include deviations from our concepts, rules, laws of logic, deviations from prudence, deviations from our points of view, deviations from commonplace expectations. So deviations from all these various kinds of humor leads to a sense of incongruity that leads to humor, according to the incongruity theory of humor. And for comic amusement to be attained, the audience, the listener, the reader of a joke or a meme must have a working knowledge for all the norms or congruities that the humor in question disturbs or violates. So in this section, I'm going to look at two memes which are centered on gender role. Here in the first meme, we see a man who is looking at his wife with a sense of despair on his face. He's washing utensils, and the wife, who is looking very joyful, she is calling the prime minister and she's telling him that please extend the lockdown. So this is the content of the meme. And here, the incongruities in question are related to gender role. According to the social construction theory of gender, gender roles are an achieved status in a social environment which categorize people and motivate social behaviors like housework. So here in this meme, there is a deviation from normal gender roles, which are considered to be man, breadwinner, and woman, homemaker. Moreover, another point of incongruity in this meme is the juxtaposition of a fat woman, controlling woman, and a thin and helpless woman, quote unquote, which contributes to the sense of incongruity. In this meme, there is a woman who is threatening her husband that if he does not do his share of household chores, she's going to report him to be a COVID-19 patient. So here, transgression happens because a woman is deviating from a gender norm by expecting her husband to participate in household chores. But another kind of incongruity is also here because she violates the norm of right thinking in the sense that she thinks that reporting her husband to be a COVID-19 patient is an appropriate punishment for him not contributing to household chores. In this section, I'm going to look at two memes centered on the concept of objectification, which the earlier paper presenters have also pointed out. In this meme, there is a girl taking a selfie, and the meme says that in the lockdown period, the rate of selfies have decreased because by 90% because the access to beauty parlors has reduced. So here there is an incongruity. There is a perception of incongruity between the cause and effect. The cause is a closure of beauty parlors, and the effect is a reduction in the rate of selfies. Unrelated, but the meme relates them, thus indicating or emphasizing the incongruity between them. In patriarchal setups, women are identified and associated with their bodies and valued for how they look than are men. And there is a constant pressure on women to correct their bodies and appearance in order to gain social acceptability. In this meme, there is a banter between a husband and a wife. So the wife tells her husband that you must keep your mask on all the time because I'm sick of seeing your face. And the husband tells her that you must do the same too because, you know, in the lockdown, without all your makeup, you have come to resemble the corn selling woman on the road. So here there is a perception of incongruity between the norm as to how women ought to, want to, or can look and how she looks in reality. But what I also find very disturbing in this meme is there are classist implications because we are expected to note that the woman who is probably from the middle class is in no way similar to the woman on the road she's compared to. So in memes like this, analysis of sexism must intersect with questions of class and privilege. I have only two more memes to quickly look at. So this is my second last meme. Here, it tells us, it's a statement issued in public interest that we should not err like Sita and we should stay at home. So here it's a reference to the mythology, Hindu mythology of Sita crossing the Lakshman Rekha and falling for the trick by this mendicant who is none other than Ravan, who has come to abduct her. So here there is an incongruity between the situations that are being compared. One is a situation from mythology and the other is a situation of our current pandemic. The projection of Sita's own responsibility in her abduction in this meme then takes the meme into the problematic terrain of victim blaming. And it is expected that for us, for the consumer of this meme to point or to appreciate the incongruity, we must have a working knowledge of Hindu mythology. So thus there is a creation of an us versus them, those who know about this mythology and those who do not. And finally, in this meme, what happens is the husband has saved his wife's name on his mobile phone as COVID-19. And when the wife confronts him, he says that, oh, I have done that because you are like COVID-19, you are intrinsically connected to my breathing. You are so important for me. So here there is an incongruous association of romantic feelings with coronavirus. And there is an emotional incoherence where the speaker matches a wrong feeling or attitude with a situation. But who here is stereotyped is a woman, because the creator, sharer, and consumer of the meme is expected to believe that a woman is inclined towards believing the faulty excuse or explanation given by the man. And the stereotypes that are at work here are women as being attention-seeking, flattery-loving, validity-desiring, easily influenced, and gullible. So my concluding remarks, humor is a tool of communicating values and beliefs, and memes not only present images, but they also construct a sensibility. I just like to quickly point out that in the fourth wave of feminism, there has been a lot of reliance on humor by feminists themselves, because they think that humor is a very potent way to put across their views. And there are a lot of feminist memes as well on the internet. Feminists have said that humor is also one way in which they cope with the constant sexism and trolling and bullying and threats they encounter on the internet. So they try to cope by accessing humor. Undoing the sexism embedded in our culture, despite the many battles that women have won over these years, is a goal of fourth wave feminism. Therefore, investigating memes which are projected as innocent is a way of repoliticizing humor, calling out sexism, and journeying towards equality and respect. These are my references. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kavita. I think, as I was saying to the earlier paper, Babina, that there is a connection between, the two, that how the body of the woman, the views of the woman,
yes, ma'am,
through memes or through jokes, they are always projected in the way in which society structures femininity and masculinity. See, because these are also ideas which are always structured, and the woman doesn't even recognize herself in these, that
yes,
this society sees her. And this reference to humor is something which is, I think, very, very important, because and this is a constant fight that I have been having on Facebook, on everyone, with everyone, who always, humor is where you hit out at the woman.
Yes.
It is always the woman who has to be at the receiving end. Yes. And, they see that a man cooking is humor, as you say, incongruity. Yes. So I think the politics of humor, because humor is extremely political.
Yes.
And, feminism itself is political, of course. So the politics of humor is something that we need to, work on, and we need to make it, sensitize people to it, that you don't make jokes like this, because this could be extremely mentally traumatic to people. So thank you so much, Kavita. And I think these two are very closely, related papers, the way in which the woman's image is presented in the times of COVID-19. Thank you so much for a very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now we go to the next paper, Moumita Chakraborty. Has she joined, Moumita?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sharing my presentation.
Okay.
I'm sharing my slide.
Please go ahead, Moumita. You have about 9 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
What's happened, Moumita? You're not being able to join in?
Ma'am.
Is there some problem, Moumita?
No, ma'am. I have shared my PPT.
Yes.
Is it visible?
I think now it's coming. This screen sharing is beginning, please.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to present in the topic Voices from the Frontline, Narratives from the Women Media Persons in Assam. So today, the entire world and all aspects of the society have been affected by the pandemic. And India has been under on and off lockdown during this period. But media workers have been on the front line, going out regularly, providing us real-time updates regarding stories and measures related to the pandemic. So with the precaution, pandemic journalism is in an act of courage and very hard work. And women journalists play a very important role here as news gatherers, as they uncover hidden angles on the basis of their own social position. While men and women are exposed to the threat of the pandemic, women on the basis of their gender, both the field and within workplace. And most of the times, while talking about women in media, the studies fail to address the issues of our own media frontline workers, and stories on women media persons have seen little or no visibility in the media platforms. These facts are relevant to various other studies, and I study also based to substantiate.
Momita, your slides are not changing. Can you put it into a slideshow mode? Yeah.
So the object of the topic is explore the narratives and highlight the issues concerned women media during the pandemic. And I have used an intersectional approach to unravel the disproportionate impact of the pandemic on the women media persons. The methodology that I have used is both qualitative and quantitative methods. Primary and secondary data were used for the study. Both online and telephonic in-depth telephonic interviews were conducted, and about 40 questionnaires were distributed, out of which 20 responses were received, and the respondents were selected through the basis of snowball sampling method. And the data was tried to give a qualitative and like an attempt was made to give a qualitative analysis to the data that was being collected. And the respondents were from different age groups. And also this feminist research work analyzed the findings to identify the perspective of the respondents. So a global study according to the International Federation of Journalists, which was conducted among 77 countries, revealed that women suffered higher anxiety during this pandemic. My study also revealed that 70% of the respondents have accepted that working during the pandemic was more stressful for them because they were always worried about the people they are often in contact with, and most of the times being exposed to the pandemic-related news had a negative impact on their mental health. Also, one of the media worker revealed that how she was always concerned about her little daughter, even though they used to get 2 to 3 days off in between. She was always worried because she had a higher chance to catch the virus. The study further revealed that 70% of the respondents believe that there is a need for more coverage on women's related issues during the pandemic. When asked about why they feel that there is a less coverage of women-related issues, they felt that there were various reasons. The first being the less representation of women in the media houses, and secondly, family and marriage-related issues in our society. Also, the majority of the media houses from which the participants were from my study had less than 10 women media persons in their house, and only 15% of the media houses out of the ones studied have more than 30 to 40% women, and that also was not equal to the male co-workers. According to a news report published by the UN Women, revealed that how most of the leadership positions are held by men in our country, which can be also relevant to the point that none of the news channels in Bhuti have a female editor-in-chief. Like another respondent stated as to how there is less representation of women in the media because journalism is a 9 to 5. is not a 9-to-5 job, and there are a lot of restrictions that a woman face in the society, and that is why there is often less representation of women in the media, and people and the women find it hard to adapt. This was what was narrated by one of the respondents. But according to a report by UN on human rights, it revealed that how the cultural and social context in which the journalism is seen plays a very important role in the less representation of women in the profession. Two of the instances that I would like to state, that in one of the instances, one of the media worker in Guwahati was slagged during her pregnancy. Also, another journalist was teased on her back home. So these instances reveal how the safety and security of the women media persons in our society is always at risk and receives little attention. Another instance that I would like to share is that one of the media persons revealed that how during the initial stage of the lockdown, they had to go out and talk, like they had to go out and interview the politicians, and it was very difficult for them to maintain all the restrictions that were being instructed by the government, because there was always a lot of rush, and they were not very well prepared to follow the rules, and that way that led to a higher chance of them catching the virus. And also 25% of the respondents revealed how they received discrimination from their relatives as well as their neighbors. One of the respondents stated as to how she was asked to change. She lives in London, so she was asked to change her room because she had to go out work even during the lockdown period. Other instances stated how there were various technical issues, as well as they were not much getting off even when they were asking for it, because it was thought of as another reason for taking an excuse for not coming to work. Here we can see that even though most of the respondents traveled through their own vehicles, 25% of them faced problems to travel to office during the lockdown period. One of the respondents stated as to how she works as a correspondent, and she didn't have, she was not provided with the transport to go to the office, and that's why she had to depend on some other person to take her to the office, which made her more vulnerable to the pandemic. Also, there were various other instances stated, like how the in-depth inequality that women faced in the society was heightened during the pandemic, and they were discriminated and further not supportive of the profession. However, my study further revealed that 85% of the respondents believe that how they feel that now even their voices are being equally heard in the media houses. But 25% of the respondents also feel that their issues are not being heard equally as their male counterparts. So all the respondents stated various reasons to bridge this gap of representation in the media houses in Assam, like reservation for women in the media houses, proper transport facilities, proper education, and and a positive attitude towards the profession, because most of the time a women media person has to struggle to get a house in Guwahati because they have a negative perception towards a media person. So these are a few instances. With that, I would like to conclude my speech saying that my study had both positive and negative connotations, and I would like to further continue collecting responses and explore the various other issues that are being faced by the women media persons. And even if over the years the representation of women has grown in the media, but yet it's not equal and not even it's not even 20 to 30% of the profession. So I feel that equal practice continue to thrive. And with this, I would like to state a quote that was being stated by one of the reporters, that how the women media persons who are diligently working their passion of being the voice of the unheard should be treated equally and with utmost respect. Women field reporters are working day and night and have to undergo many uncomfortable situations during the job, but they don't get that respect and support from the media houses in return. This mentality should be changed. Media houses should interact with the women field reporters from time to time instead of taking them for granted. Women field reporters should get the deserved moral boost. With that, I would like to conclude my speech. Looking forward for your valuable suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Momita. I think you have raised certain very, very interesting issues about attitude towards media persons, female media persons, and a very, very relevant issue that how many actually women are there in the decision-making affluence of the media houses. I think that will be even less than 1%. And that may be one of the reasons why there is such a lack of attention to the requirements and the necessities. And I think Anjulika and Banu will be able to really talk on this and be able to enlighten us on these problems, which is a very, very real problem that women media persons face in our society. Thank you so much, Momita. We now move on to the next paper. I think this is, Sadika Laskar. Has Sadika Laskar joined?
Yes, ma'am, I have joined.
Yeah, please, go ahead. You
yes,
have about 9 minutes maximum.
Hello, is my screen audible?
Yes, yes. You are audible and also your
screen is visible.
Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, all professors and fellow mates. Okay, so my title is Media's Role as a Catalyst for Voicing Issues about Northeastern Women in the Times of COVID-19. And to start with the introduction, if I start with my topic, I would like to say, okay, so the plight of women have always been underlooked by the Indian mainstream media, as we know, but the story remains the same in every household. Here, my concern that is here my mother.
Hello, Sadika, we have lost you.
Hello, ma'am. Yes. So sorry, I'm connecting from Missouri. There's really network problems. So yes.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, these problems.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay. So, ma'am, here the topic of concern is about the Northeastern women living outside their own regions. Example, I myself, I hail from Assam, but I stay here in Gurgaon, and also eventually I travel. I live both in Gurgaon and Missouri at the same time because of work. So yes, so my topic is based on women who live outside and what kind of issues they face and what role do they think media plays in their lives. So as a Northeastern woman, what I have particularly faced is that whenever I introduce myself as, hailing from Northeast, the idea of belonging from Northeast is always like, oh, acha, you're from Northeast? Okay, so the Northeastern woman have very sexual appeal, they say. This is what my male counterparts say always to me. Apart from that, what I get to hear is that I do not look like a Northeastern, but yes, every time my accent, my food habits, my dressing style, everything is being questioned. And not just me, I am sure most of the Northeastern women staying outside, working, studying, face the same thing in different kind of fields they're working or they deal in their everyday lives. So to introduce my paper, since the paper concerns around the situations and anecdotes during the COVID-19 times, the first storm, I would say, the first point of attention when the media grabbed was when on 23rd March 2020, a man in the national capital city have spat pan on a 25-year-old woman and shouted "Corona" just because of her mongoloid features. Okay, so just before this incident happened, this was the 23rd March, was the day when the first Janta curfew was observed in the country. And just almost 13 days back, on 10th of March, in the Bangalore city, a Northeastern woman, a Mizo woman to be precise, was called Corona in a running traffic in a traffic signal, and the car just speed off. So this kind of news are hardly covered. But yes, the attention span was raised only after this particular news that happened on 23rd March in Delhi itself. So to start with, I'd like to say a slok by Manusmriti. Okay, the slok says this means where women are dishonored, divinity blossoms, and wherever women are dishonored, all actions, no matter how noble it may be, remains unfulfilled. So the question of the worth of women's strata and existence and the concerns related to safety and security have always been a matter of concern whatsoever. But I should say like we're really lucky enough because hailing from the regions like Northeast, the conditions are much better comparatively than the rest of the country. But again, what about the student? The women like us living outside, because we face this kind of issues in our day-to-day life every time. So, yes, I have for this particular paper. Yeah. So I have used two kinds of study for this particular paper. So one was the media coverage that I have done that had covered all the Northeastern women during the during the lockdown period or the post-lockdown period. And the other was a survey method that I have done, for the women belonging to the age group of 22 to 30, hailing from the Northeastern region who are studying or working in different metro cities and the two-tier cities of the country. So my questionnaire was distributed amongst 100 plus respondents, and I have got 44 response in this short time. Okay, so the objective was first to study the media coverage on the issues faced by the Northeastern women, and the second was to analyze the perception of the Northeastern women living outside their home states and about their personal experience of facing racial shaming due to different geographical ethnicity and their understanding of the media, of the different forms of media as a platform for voicing their issues of women like them. So the part one starts media coverage of incident happened with Northeastern women during the lockdown period. So this is the image, I guess, this was the first incident that caught the media's attention when a man in the national capital city have spent pan on a Northeastern girl, and then and of course the man was arrested. But just almost 13 days back, the same thing happened, but this issue had got highlighted, and after that. After this particular issue happened, after 2 months in the month of May, the same kind of incident happened in the city of Gurugram and in Bangalore, in Coimbatore. I'm sorry, in Coimbatore. When girls were called out, when are called by the names of Corona, and there was also an anecdote like where the locals have beaten up the girl, the Manipuri girl, just because she looked Chinese, according to them. And not just this, also a group.
Adhika,
yes, yes, ma'am.
Slides are not moving. Just stuck on the introduction.
Is it? But I am okay. Is it fine, ma'am?
No, this maybe there's something wrong. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, I can start. I can share the screen once again. Maybe I'll just need to try. Ma'am, is it fine now?
Yes, it's moving. Yeah. Please go. Please go ahead. Go
yes,
on.
Sure, ma'am. Okay. So also the story of a group of women who were forcefully quarantined in the Ahmedabad city of Gujarat, where they were working with. They were working in Ahmedabad city, and for a long time, and so they had a random visit to their workplace, and despite their owners claiming that these were their own employees, and they have no travel histories and no symptoms, but yet they were forcefully quarantined for 24 hours in Ahmedabad. And the issue just got raised when one of the women from the group has viral a video, like has sent a video through WhatsApp, and only after sharing that particular video, they were released because the police got their attention once again, and they were ultimately released. But this new and also two such anecdotes that went viral because of the social media. One happened in Gujarat, where the northeastern women were forcibly, asked to evict their place of stay. But the Gujarat police then came to the rescue. The other was there in Kolkata, where a group of students were also denied accommodation. So these were only a few of the issues which got the media attention. That were not all kind of medias, I would say. Only forums like the new medias, for a particular incident that happened in Delhi, got the attention of the national mainstream media, I would say, but only that's limited to the new media sites, I would say, and the rest all were all only through social medias or the independent news websites as such, or like the Quaint, Scroll, the Where, and everything, but not any other platforms. So the survey that I did, just to understand, the perception of Northeastern women staying outside, this were the response. So one of the question was, have you ever faced or experienced any type of racial slurs or comments outside your state? So 61.4% said yes, and 38.6% said no. So, okay, so this gives a little bit of positive light as well, because I'm sure not everyone faces the same kind of situation. The other question was, if the answer of the above question is yes, which place have you faced such issue? So the number of, so most of the places, the place where they face the issue the most is the public place, and after that, the large number is the workplace, and also the third is the place of study. So here I've mentioned a few particular racial comments or slurs or whatever they have faced in their own life or in their day-to-day lives, staying outside their own regions. Many of us, one of them quoted, "I was often being laughed by my colleagues for my Hindi accent. Many a times I was even referred to for my Chinese looks. People are being called Chinese, and they're also called momos." I remember the idea of momo is always associated with the idea of the mongoloid thing. So if a normal guy sells momo, but no one goes there, I have heard my friends saying that they don't go to buy momo. They're like, no, ye northeastern nahi lag raha hai, so I don't think so he'll make nice momos. Let's go to the one who's looking Chinese. So yes. And also one of my friends said once after from returning from field work, someone said, तुम्हें तो आदत होगी जंगल में रहने की. The idea is still the same. However, we have developed so much, come so far, and lived in different cities. We have, but they still have the idea, the connotation that we hail from jungle, and yes, we are junglies as such. And also, yes, you can see the other two comments also there in the screen. Why people from Assam are coming to Kolkata to destroy our culture? This is not just for Kolkata. I believe I have personally heard this particular comment from different cities and different people. They believe people from Northeast, we come from a different country altogether, and we are here to spoil their own culture or something. So the other thing was, which source of media do they rely for their own news from their own homeland or the Northeast region as such? So yeah, from the traditional media, 12%, 27.3% said that they rely on mediums like traditional.
Sarika,
Hello, yes,
please, can you come to your conclusions?
Sure, ma'am, absolutely. So ma'am, to conclude my paper as such, so it is there. The media in a country, in a democratic country, which is believed to be the voice of the voiceless, the issues faced by the Northeastern women or any other community as such, media can be a strong platform, to raise such concerns. But as you have seen other presenters, or my fellow other presenters also present the same thing, that women like us nowadays are more comfortable to the social media, to raise their issues and to voice similar issues and opinions. But I believe traditional media is lacking the priority on such kind of news, and which is and in fact for forums like traditional media, like newspapers, news channels, etc. Only these are the ones which are accessible by the masses. Like new media is only kind of accessed by the youths, by the age, like the ones like us, and not by the masses. So yes, But thanks to all the independent journalism and all the news websites and the news apps also, at least the youth like us today are at least informed about the issues happening in their own, about their own community, their own cultures, and also their hello, yes, also they're able to voice their issues. So yes, that's it.
Thank you so much, Sadika. I think that was, this is a constant concern which has been raised by everyone, particularly women from the Northeast, also men, how they are misunderstood elsewhere. Thank you so much for your very interesting presentation. And now I think we come to the last paper. I have here Shrishti and Fatia Rainer. Are they here?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be presenting and Srishti will be sharing the screen for our presentation.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's here. So most of the part of our presentation has also already been covered, but we'll look at it from a different approach. So this pandemic has hit nearly every sector of our lives, and each one of us is dealing with different aspects of it. While many are struggling to make ends meet, some of us are battling discrimination in these times. Racism and misinformation is seen as hand in glove, and it's spreading more faster than the virus. Therefore, the role of our newsrooms and multimedia journalism becomes all the more important right now, not only with regard to reliable and verified information, but also for highlighting the hate and violence being perpetrated against the marginalized communities in India. With this, I would like to place our questions, which we will attempt to loom at during this presentation and beyond. The first question is how the mainstream media of this country had already begun losing its credibility, and especially during this pandemic, has failed to deliver authentic pieces of information to its viewers. Second is kinds of stereotypes that women from the Northeast have to deal with, their daily life struggles that they have to face, and how comfortable, vulnerable they feel in these public spaces. Third is how social media has been used as a medium of resilience and expressing strong, articulate voices of dissent while drawing parallels from events happening around the world. Next slide. We have seen a constant need of assurance of oneself being patriotic, especially in these times. For Muslims and Muslim individuals, it has existed in a need to chant Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and for people from Northeast India, it is seen in a need to show Aadhaar cards to prove one's citizenship, especially the one who quote unquote talk, look, eat differently. All this has been validated by our world leaders who time and again called COVID-19 as China virus, and also our national leaders who chant go China virus go amidst the national lockdown, and chanting this slogan amidst the national lockdown is the least of this layered problem. Next slide. So the slogan of no justice, no peace came with the institutional murder of George Floyd in America and echoed in India after some acknowledgement of similar patterns of racism here. From the leading newspapers and newsrooms, there are very few reporters assigned in the Northeastern region. The Northeast has always been neglected from the mainstream media houses. We try to look at some of the high TRP mainstream channels, news channels, and how they have reported the racism and hate crimes against Northeasterners, which are taking place in our country right now. So the RRAG, which is the Rights and Risk Analysis Group, has recorded 22 cases as racial discrimination of hate crimes from 7th February 2020 to 25th March 2020. These incidents are just the tip of the iceberg of India's quote-unquote mongoloid-looking people, and have been facing discrimination almost regularly, and the same do not make news. Next slide. Yeah, so the general representation of Northeastern women in mainstream cinemas in India has also been also not been very different. These mainstream Bollywood films end up objectifying and fetishizing the women from the Northeast, or use countless slurs of for comic purposes, as my fellow presenters have also mentioned. Even after identifying the 17-time world champion, Mary Kom the decision to cast a North Indian actor with a lot of prosthetic makeup to play the role becomes an appropriation of Mary Com's success in sports. In Chak De India as well, we see how two players from the Northeast are often catcalled, and men simply assume that they are easy and would be heading to a club. A similar pattern of harassment is seen in the film Akhuni, where with Chanbi's character. And another important aspect that Nicholas Khankongar covers or brings out is the politics of food relating to a certain face type and the surveillance that follows with it. So Adil Hussein's character brings out an extremely important point without a single dialogue in this regard, which reminds me of a specific incident in Bengaluru, where two women belonging to the northeast part of India uh, were harassed by their neighbors who barged into their house on a Sunday midnight, shot a video of them without their consent, and accused them of being infected with coronavirus. Another thing that is relevant in the times of pandemic and could have been better represented in the film as well is the constant burden to fit in. Like in Bendang's character is a thinly veiled reference to Nido Tanyam, and the man from Arunachal Pradesh who was killed by the mob in Lajpat Nagar in 2014. And the end of the film, at the end of the film, the survival of Bindang's character is in Delhi depends on how well he can fit in these major cities. This is a strong hit at the ignorance of mainland India, but it is portrayed as an appropriation of the same in the film, and the onus to make friends lies on Bindang. And unfortunately, Nido was not even given this option. Change slide. So the alternate media and the social media has become an increasingly popular tool for social activism. It does have limitations, but it gives the power of narration into the hands of the people themselves, which is primarily how people have registered resistance and protested against racism during the ongoing pandemic. The new phenomena has encouraged people to come out with their own narrations. One such picture of a northeastern woman being spat at was posted by the official account of National Commission for Women with an urgency to look into the matter. Along with this, a petition was also started with change.org, urging the Prime Minister to condemn, for the least of the cause, to condemn the racial attacks. With all this and more, I think it is safe to say that the internet and social media has unfolded as one of the strongest platforms of documentation and resistance against acts of racism in India. Next slide. So, according to the Besbarua Committee report recommendations, a new law against discrimination should come into picture. The committee strongly suggests the creation of fast-track courts for handling the cases related to Northeast people, particularly those which are racially motivated and involving heinous crimes against the Northeast women and children. The committee recommends that one, all teacher training institutes be advised to make their syllabus in a way that can be sensitive and can sensitize their trainees on the Northeast topic, and two, that the universities and schools outside the Northeast as well make projects on Northeast a mandatory part of the course. It underlines the report also underlines the role of social media in improving connectivity and communication with the community through campaigns and much more. Also, the indigenous games of the Northeast should be promoted, which will create harmony and a better understanding for the people in the mainland India as well. So I would just like to read out what is given in the slide as well. In December 2015, the government of India told the Parliament.
Can you start, summing up, because we are running.
Yeah, it's the conclusion. Yeah, it's the conclusion. Yeah. In December 2015, the government of India told the Parliament that there is a proposal to amend the provisions of Indian Penal Code related to promoting or attempting to promote acts prejudicial to human dignity in words, gestures, or acts intended to insult a member of a particular racial group, as per the recommendations made by the Besbarua Committee to look into the concerns of the Northeast living in the other parts of the country, as reported by Rights and Risks Group. We would like to end by saying that the women of any and every marginalized community have to face the double burden or compound oppression, which can neither be promoted nor tolerated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhatia and Shrishti, for a very interesting summing up and a very interesting look at how Northeast gets represented. And I think this is a major concern about the images which media creates and which are also in a way popularized. And this is something that has to be broken if this racism and these very patriarchal attitudes have to be tackled with. Thank you so much, Bhatia and Shrishti. I think with that, we come to the end of the presentations. That was the last paper that I had. And we have had 7 very, very interesting papers. I think now Anjulika should take up to, to give a summary or, her perceptions of it, because she is the person, absolutely on the spot. Anjulika?
Excuse me, sorry for interruption. Is it required to extend the time limit? So I can request the system analyst, till 2:15. It might be possible.
Yeah, 15 minutes, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Is there, is Bano in? Papers.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Anjulika, you take over now.
Hello.
Yes, you're audible, Anjulika. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, there's some problem. I can't hear properly here.
We can hear you. We can see you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, I really learned a lot today from all these young scholars, and it has been a wonderful experience for me. Sitting through and listening to all these 7 papers, and I'm very happy that there has been a lot of thinking, a lot of wait. There has been a lot of thinking, a lot of reading, and a lot of analysis being done by the scholars, and it makes me very hopeful in a way. Makes me very hopeful that that things will only move forward for the better now. Uh, Traditionally, usually when we talk about media, we usually think that media is only the newspapers and the TV that we see, and we usually confine ourselves to the traditional media. And it's very interesting that most of the presentations also incorporates the new media, and not just the new media of the social media, but also films and memes and songs and viral videos, animations, and those are really good analysis which has been done. And yeah, I would have loved to see to see more of, or listen more about the women media persons, being a media person myself, because generally when we talk about the media, or when we discuss the media, we talk about media as a faceless entity, a genderless entity. But the kind of problems which are being faced by the kind of their narratives, Momita has tried to touch upon it, and it would have been great to hear a little bit more about it. But still, Momita has done a good job. I mean, trying to cover that issue also, and yeah, and the whole in all these 7 papers, the underlying issue of how women as such face a lot of racism, a lot of gender stereotyping, or control, or patriarchal control for at home and at work, and how the COVID-19 pandemic situation has only aggravated these issues. So these are a lot of thinking points, takeaway points from this discussion. I particularly liked Agamani Barbarua and Dr. Madhusri Das's paper on women using social media for self-representation, and how it is I mean, and how social media can become a therapy, but not just a point of therapy or to just lift your mood, but also how it can be a useful tool to engage, to become more political and more aware. And that is a very good observation. Then I like Babina's analysis of the memes, songs, and viral audio animations going on, and how she links it up with the current situations here in Manipur, and particularly the how the normalization of gender stereotyping is taking place in the name of making cute videos using children, and that is a very worrying point for me personally as a mother also, and that is something which would need more intervention and more work from all stakeholders, not just scholars, but also those working in NGOs, the government, everything, and yeah. And Kavita Chiring's paper on how humor, the politics of humor, and and there's even in Manipur we have this short cartoons, sort of like humorous pieces in the newspaper, and how people read it and then laugh at it and don't think much more about it, but how how if you look deeper into it, how the politics of humor is very instrumental in constructing sensibilities, and if it goes the wrong way, then it can inadvertently cause more damage than just cause laughter. Um Momita's I agree that there needs to be a little more, as Professor Manorama had also pointed out, how there is a need for women media person to be at the decision making level, and so that they can address their own securities and vulnerabilities, and at the same time can also address representation of gender in the media themselves itself. Sadika Laskar's paper on racial stereotyping, media's role as catalyst for voicing issues about what is women in time of COVID-19. Yes, the instances which she had pointed out were also, when we first came out, we were also very concerned, even in Manipur also. And so much so that I belong to a group of women media person called the Network of Women in Media India. It's a group of more than 500 plus media women, journalists, filmmakers, and then media educators all across the country. So we immediately flagged that issue, especially with and then we brought up statements, and then we made sure that these issues are being covered in the media. So that is how, media women themselves can also become catalyst for voicing this kind of issues. Srishti and Vatya Raina's representation of indigenous women by mainstream media is more or less similar with Sadika's, but Srishti and Vatia had done much more the groundwork, it seems. And yeah, and covering Bollywood also. And I'm the on the there has been only 2 or 3 Bollywood films which really try to focus or bring in the Northeast aspect. Chakte, India, then the Rock On, and then Akuni, the latest being Akuni, and of course the Mary Kom. And I'm so glad that everyone, like, has been referring to it, because even though there has been an attempt to portray the Northeast and then the Northeastern women in such a big medium, such a powerful medium as Bollywood films. We can't be pleasant and just say, okay, we are happy that they're having Manipuri stories there. We have to be aware how they are placing us in that context. So that kind of introspection has been there from all the from many of the panelists, paper presentations, including Aratricia Kashyap, and she's done a good job talking about the tribal body and how the Bollywood has been perpetuating racism instead of trying to do away with it. So yeah, I really learned a lot, and I really thank the organizers, and then my co-chair, Professor Manorama Sarma. I really learned from her comments also, and this is my first time chairing a panel like this, and I'm so happy to be part of this. Yeah, thank you, Professor.
Well, that was lovely, Anjulika. I mean, I was just looking forward to listening to, the person who is in the midst of everything and how she reacts, I think. And I think that would be very, very, something very constructive for all the young paper presenters. And I think it's a lovely experience to see all these young girls, I mean, people who are in the media or maybe studying, doing media research, etc., looking at things so sensitively. And in fact, I would have been very happy if there was one, male media person also presenting, because it's always important, interesting to see. Because we, the women, we keep on saying we see the problems, we understand them, but we'd also like to see how a male media representative or a person, views the whole scenario. Does he see it also?
Very true, very true.
As patriarchal? And now there's one thing, like these papers, as I think you have done summed it up so well, there's nothing more for me to say. But there are a few things, just 2 things that I always think, which I'll just close up with. I think we are also closing in on time. One is that, I feel that there's been a lot of these institutes, etc. now, which give education, they train journalists. I think that media education also needs to undergo change, because I myself associated with one such, as an advisor, of course, institute. And I find that, the training that they get is such a stereotype training that the gender sensitivity does not really get into it. And so when they go out into the field, even the female journalists, they go out with the same patriarchal values of the media values. So I think somewhere that the entire training of education of the media journalists and the media persons, that needs to change, because the mushrooming of media training institutions may not always be very, very good, because it depends on what kind of what kind of education that has been given. And the other thing I was thinking when, I think, who was it? Agomoni, I think, when you are talking about, how the women have been using the social media, and what they are feeling, they are projecting about food, cooking, and what has been important during the COVID-19. I think somewhere there also needs to be an intervention in this, that it does not get, the strengthen this whole idea, stereotype of women as carers, caregivers. Is it that, that they will do the household chores, that they're caregivers? Because that is what gets projected more and more, even through their own participation. They are participating in, recipes and how decorating houses, etc. So that actually should not get, projected as, as the main image. Is Banu here? Shall we see if there are any questions which are there, which are for the?
I'm looking.
Are there any questions, Banu? I'm looking at the question answer.
Yes. There is one for Agamani.
Agamani, no?
Yeah. Yes. The question,
yes, ma'am. The question, please.
Small query to Agamani. Can you please clarify whether the posts from Facebook and Instagram were by the same account holder, meaning if the respondents have both Facebook or Insta account, or by different respondents?
Yeah. Most of them have, I've taken actually different women on both the platforms, but some have actually sort of, become similar because they are actually more active on social media, both on Instagram and Facebook. But other than that, that would be like one or two of them. But mostly I've taken different women, completely different women. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
No, ma'am, nothing that is related to the topic.
To anyone. At least I can't see it on the either on the chat or on the question answer.
It's not related.
I think Madam Patricia Mukim has been writing on chat that she wants to interact.
Yes.
Maybe we could give her some space.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yeah, we should also welcome, Patricia Mukim. Yeah, please. She had been giving, the session, actually, yeah, she would be.
Is she connected, Patricia?
Yeah, I did see her. Patricia, ma'am, are you online?
She has left the meeting.
Okay. All right, then I think if there are no more questions, I think we should, that is what I would like to close with, that this was a session, I think, which has brought in a lot of extremely interesting, important issues. And the point, I think, which everyone needs to focus on is that the stereotypes which the media always has been projecting, even in films which are said to be, women-centered, the stereotype very rarely is broken. The stereotype of the women needs to be challenged, needs to be changed, I think, if we really have to go forward. Because I was looking at some studies where it shows that, in the kind of presentation which is there in the media world over, there is only about, maybe just a little less than 50% which challenges the stereotypes. You see? And I'm sorry, the 50% which actually projects the stereotype, and there is less than 6% which challenges the stereotypes. So it is very important that, that what the media projects as the image of the woman, which, Betty Friedan had said that you should not allow the society to create this particular kind of a picture. And that is the kind of the image which has been created about women generally, and more particularly about the women from the Northeast. And that has become, the racist perception. It's a highly racist perception, of course, and of course the largely the very patriarchal perception. And in the rest of India, they think that this is how a woman has to be seen. And the more important thing is to look at not just one Mary Kom, but to see whether the possibilities of many Mary Koms which are there in the society, and why they are not being able to come up. So one has to focus on the larger question of the women. So I think the media therefore has a huge role to play in changing values, in changing perceptions. And otherwise what happens is, that sexist image which has been created by the patriarchal world, the same sexist perceptions will keep on, will just carry on. So somewhere we have to break the change. And I think there I feel that the media has an extremely important role And I think the the young men and women, I would also hope that the men also will get, should be a part of it. The women and men will be able to at least be the forerunners of this change. And the media plays its very important historical role in changing gender perceptions in the society. And to that extent, I thank the IAWS for organizing this sub-theme, and to Sukmaya Sukyama and Banu Haralu for taking the responsibility of holding this sub-theme panel on media and women. And I think we need to have more discussions of this type. And I thank the organizers for allowing me this opportunity of listening to all these wonderful people who have spoken so well on areas on which they have been researching. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, our Vice Chancellor has been actually, with us, from the beginning till now. So I kindly request him to. Sir.
Yes, please. We'd like to listen to him.
Thank you for inviting me, but I'm listening just various speakers' presentation. It is very good youngsters. They are doing very good. I've been listening. I don't have any much to speak on this particular topic. Let me not to speak on that. But I'm very happy that most of the youngsters are doing very good and they're expressing their views and ideas for doing some good work in this area. It is very nice that they are very much appreciated, and I've been listening them. Thank you. Thank you for me giving me opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shall I end the session now? Yes, madam, shall I end the session now?
No, sir. I will have the validation session right now, and I'm just going to reiterate.
She is going to propose a vote of thanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful session. And first and foremost, I would like to thank the authorities at Mizoram University for giving us this platform wherein we could engage in the debates and discussions. I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor K.R.S. Kambasuma Rao, and Registrar, Professor Lalnandala, for their support and for being present with us throughout this session. I would also like to thank our chair and co-chair, Professor Manrama Sharma Baido and Anjalika Ma'am. Thank you very much for accepting, for agreeing to chair the session. And I would also like to say that this entire session was very enriching, and given the fact that it all happens because of your own expertise and experience in the field. My next thanks would go to Patricia Ma'am as well. She was here, but I'm very sorry to have an interaction with her. To all the presenters, I would also like to thank all the presenters and participants who have been throughout the session again. My heartfelt thanks to Hinashri, Jitamani Hazarika, and Malika, who have been helping us to conduct this session. And last but not the least, I must thank Zovi Ma'am and IT Cell Department of Mizoram University for their immense support. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how this session would have gone. But thank you very much. And so I and Banu Ma'am, on behalf of this subteam, would like to thank everyone for this session. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam, can I end the session now?
Yes, you may. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.